Okay.
Key among them, or first that we'll discuss, is Yunus Musah. Currently at Valencia, of course. Fabrizio Romano, he of Here We Go fame, reporting Arsenal have sent scouts to monitor the youngster. Also, apparently, there's interest from Inter Milan, according to Romano. Musah could leave anywhere between January and June. So lots of ways we can break this down. Let's start just with the leagues and the options there. According to what you feel about Yunus Musah's football, which league suits his style best? Where he is right now, La Liga, Premier League, or Serie A?
Ooh. I like La Liga for him.
Really?
I do. I had questions and doubts about Yunus Musah's physical abilities. A lot of those he answered in this World Cup. I thought physically he was fantastic. One of the major doubts I had about Yunus Musah was the lack of productivity, right?
End product, yeah.
End product, if you will.
I think you at one point compared him to Darlington Nagbe.
Darlington Nagbe. And what are you laughing at?
I mean, of your bad takes, híjole, that's got to be at the top of the pile.
Well, you should ask Darlington Nagbe about that.
Darlington Nagbe would love to have had the career Yunus Musah is going to have.
Going to have?
Yeah.
Okay, so what are we talking about? Yunus Musah is a very talented player.
I'm not going to argue with you about Darlington Nagbe comparison to Yunus Musah. I'll let Twitter destroy you for that. Make your point about Yunus Musah.
The U.S. will win a World Cup because USL and MLS. But they'll destroy me for that. Listen, he's a very talented player. And a lot of the doubts I had about him physically have been answered in this group phase. I think he'll run with the best of them. Like, I didn't know physically that he would be that good, that dominant. He was really that good in the group stage. But a lot of things that he's very good for, he didn't do this World Cup. But I know he can do them. I like the Premier League, but not over La Liga. He's so technical. He is so technical, and he's so good in between the boxes. He is so shifty at getting in and out of things. His ability to drive a ball. Honestly, and I know you laugh at this, I've only seen from Darlington Nagbe in the U.S. pool, like in the last decade. I've only seen that from Darlington Nagbe. That's why I made that comparison. He's literally the only one with that ability to drive out of there. He's in a field of his own when we talk about U.S. men's national team players in that category. I love that for him in La Liga. I think he'll find a nice home in La Liga. But the Premier League is a different animal. Serie A is a different animal when it comes to defensively.
See, I see him, and I see a player, like, I'm going to make a comparison here, like a Luca Della Torre. Overwhelmingly technical, right? So we say, oh, La Liga would be a good fit. I feel like Yunus Musah does a lot of things well. Are you feeling like he would be a bad fit for a Premier League or a Serie A, or you just think the best fit is La Liga? Because I think he'd be a good fit anywhere. I don't really see.
Where do you want to? You just told me that Darlington wishes he's going to wish he had the career. So where do you want to? Where do you think he's going to end up? Champions League team?
Like at the highest level
at the
possible,
highest level,
where you'd want to see him.
No. So do you think he's going to end up there?
Yeah.
Okay. So he's going to end up in a top 6 English Premier League team.
Or a top team in La Liga.
He's going to play on those teams, is what you're telling me. Which one?
What?
You're telling me that you see him having a great career.
Yes.
So that would be a top league, right? Top team.
Right.
Where do you see him? Because you said you love England for him. Where do you see him playing?
No. I'm asked. The question was to you. Do you think he's like not a good fit for the Premier League? Is there something lacking in his game that's Premier League? Because what you're saying is he's great for La Liga, but what is it about like Premier League or Serie A?
I think he's got more of an ability to play at a higher team in La Liga than he does at a higher team in the English Premier League.
Okay.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, every club would be its own conversation, right? Like.
Would you agree with that?
I don't know. I think there's some English.
Just the fact that you're having doubts. Whereas in case,
I think there's less, but there's less.
There's a better opportunity of him being a Champions League player in and out if he was in La Liga.
If we're saying big clubs in England, there's 6 of them.
I just told you.
There's only 3 in Spain. 2 in Spain. We count Atleti as 3.
Atleti would be 3, yeah.
Okay, and that's it. So there's, in theory, double the opportunity in the Premier League than there would be to be on a big club in Spain, right? So just from a numbers standpoint, I could see there being more opportunities in the Premier League. And I don't think that the Premier League is necessarily not suitable to him. And I'm trying to understand if you think that or if you just are saying that.
Because I don't want. Here's my rationale. I don't want to see Yunus Musah playing in a club. I think he's a Champions League player. I think he's a very good player. I don't think he's a Champions League player in the Premier League because I think those
Right.
teams are in a field of
Right.
they're a league of their own.
Atleti, Sevilla, that kind of next tier in Spain is more accessible than even the top 6
You see him playing for City.
in England.
You see him playing for Arsenal.
I mean, he's linked to Arsenal, so.
Do you see him playing there?
Well, right now, no.
Okay.
Right now, no. So let's dive in on Arsenal because that's the real, actual one we can point to. Do you think that he would start at Arsenal or Inter Milan?
Arsenal, probably not. Inter, maybe, because you and I had spoken about this off air a little bit. If you're going for Yunus Musah, you're also banking on his future, right? So it's not like a you got to play now type of deal, even though I want to see him play now type of deal.
For the club, it's not that.
Correct.
For the player, yeah,
of course.
it might be something very
It should
different.
always be
Yes.
that. I was talking to Matteo Bonetti, a good
Yes.
friend, and he said, listen, that's an aging midfield, and with the exception of Barrella, they're all in their 30s, and they may start thinking, like, hey, what's next if you're Inter? I don't know if Yunus wants that right now or needs that. I like the fact that he plays right now for Gattuso, and Gattuso's I'm not a fan of Gattuso. You know, I saw what he did to Chucky Lozano and Napoli, and I wasn't really keen on that. I wasn't really something that got me excited for a young player, but he's been thriving under Gattuso. I know it's a mid-table team right now, but Valencia is one of those teams that kind of fluctuates in and out of that Champions League, Europa League zone. I don't mind where he's at right now. I see the necessity for Yunus to want to take that step.
Is he ready for it? Because I'll go back to the Greg Berhalter comments of like, don't make the jump until you're dominating the place you're at. He's playing well, but it's only this season that he's really established himself as a starter in what we believe to be his best position. It would seem like almost he could use some more seasoning at Valencia before he were to try to make, whether it's Arsenal or Inter Milan or anywhere else, that jump.
We actually had this conversation. Who was it with? I forget who we had this conversation with. But literally, this is his first season in his preferred position at Valencia. He was playing on the wing at Valencia. And you know how sometimes politics come into play of whether you stay or you go. Valencia's hand may be forced at some point where they have to sell him. And he's one of those bargaining chips that they're going to have or that they have at this moment right now. So it may be like the market's there, we have to sell him, but I wouldn't move him right now. I wouldn't. And where do you go from here? Unless you see him, in my mind, playing in a top league.
Right.
And I'll leave Ligue 1 unless it's PSG out of this. Top league, okay? The next step for Yunus has to be a Champions League move.
I'm looking at the Arsenal options, right? Granit Xhaka, Partey, El Neni, Lokonga is kind of the fourth guy in those positions. Xhaka's contract's up in 2024. El Neni's contract is up. They just extended it, but only for a year, so it's up at the end of the 23 season. So there are spaces there coming at Arsenal. If you're Yunus Musah, you're only 20. You just turned 20.
You're taking an understudy for a year is what you're telling me if you're Yunus Musah.
What would you do? Would you say no to a big club that clearly wants you and has you in a future plan?
I don't know if he can say no to Arsenal.
And there's also the reality.
I don't think he can say no to
Arsenal. There's so many games, dude. You're going to play League Cup. You're going to play
Europa
FA Cup.
League,
You're going to play
Champions League, whatever they got. We don't know where they'll be in those. We don't know where they'll be.
Producer Beto, who's an Arsenal fan, is bitter about the Europa
We don't
League
know where they will be is what I'm trying to tell you. And they've got Carabao Cup, the FA Cup. I understand what you're saying. Yes, that's fine. I don't think Yunus could say no to an Arsenal. And there's a personal story to that. I mean, he started there. There might be that spinita clavada. There might be that part of him that wants that, hey, you know what? This would be great for me. This is where I want to be. This is home. There could be that. He's got such a high ceiling. He's such a good player. There's a few pieces that are missing that he can get there. I didn't think he had the physical aspect of it, and what he showed me in this World Cup is he absolutely has it.
Yeah.
There are things that he keeps surprising us with. I still think he needs more in product. I don't think that's an opinion. I think those are numbers.
Yeah.
You could see that. But he's just so good, and he keeps impressing me. And what I love about him is just his overall look and attitude on things.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing he's ever said, no, I don't want that challenge. It's always been like, I'll try that challenge.